This body of work is titled Let's Converse in the Meantime, an open dialogue with sight. My project takes place on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri Wurrung language groups of the Kulin Nations. I'd like to pay my respects to their ancestors and elders, past, present and emerging, and contemplate my role as a designer performing within country. This work is one approach in engaging and hearing our environments. This project will be supplemented onto an existing council project, Reimagining Ruthven, proposed as a website, a mirror board and an apparatus. They all perform as diagrams with the intention of contesting assumptions made in Council's master plan and project timeline. I understand the diagram to be an interior process, an act of interior making. Deleuze describes a field of exterior forces and flows, a field of dynamisms. As he states, we are made of lines. The very process of diagramming and interior making is one of selecting and arranging, a slowing down, a concentration that enables a mode of inhabitation in thought and by the body that continues to shift. This project takes place within the meantime. Framed as a metric for now, it is determined through my engagement with the site and performed in parallel to the master plan. My research question asks, how can an interior design of diagramming challenge and contribute to the master plan and project timeline? 74 Glasgow Avenue Reservoir will be used as a sample to test this methodology. Formerly Ruthven Primary School, it is being regenerated into a bushland reserve. The site was selected from explorations in Semester 1. Systems of communication were investigated between Darebin Council, the local community, and our environments. Of focus was the way we determine a site's trajectory. In this body of work, an exchange with site and council is continued through a dialogue of diagramming. The site is positioned as the key stakeholder. Council's master plan intends to implement an ephemeral wetland on site within the 20 to 30 year timeline. It states the need for research to see if this is possible. This is where I focused my engagement. Site analysis is one of specificity. It is created from distinct and limited points of contact with the site. As a means of communication, it tends to reduce and displace. A diagram, on the other hand, is indeterminate, despite being created from the same specificity. These methods undergo a process of interpretation and translation in order to communicate. They are both idealized and abstracted by the communicator. However, a site analysis performs as fixed. Its process is restricted. Key to the diagram is its openness in interpretation, application, and program. Its process and abstraction encourages a sense of continuation and iteration. It encourages a sense of movement. A parasitic partnership between council site analysis and this project of diagramming creates a tactility. Points of tension and expansion are created by two modes of interpretation and communication. My project aims to push and explore our understanding of a diagram and what it can afford to the design process as an interior act. A diagram can perform through time and highlight systems at play. Being universal, the diagram emphasizes how everything is interrelated, connected, affected. It articulates the need for more open-ended systems. The mirror board is an active log, diagramming the exchange of dialogue between myself and the court where the wetlands are proposed. Seen as an exhaustive but necessary process. It's a mode of working that both hijacks and extends councils. It is limitless and full of activity. It undergoes a process of interpretation and translation as the diagram communicates lessons from the meantime. It is scalar, multiple, and always shifting, and in doing so combats the limitations of analysis. Experiments included sound explorations and shifting built gestures, from pavilions to recording nodes that were to converse with the site and its network. Diagrammatic conventions perform the site's agility. It interrogates structures of identity, categorization, images of nature and ecology through iteration and extension. It produces a shifting frame. It enables different speeds of information in the ambiguity of interpretation. Never appearing complete, it demands more engagement with the site. What does this communicate when attached to a site analysis? As an example of this way of working, an apparatus is proposed to live on site until the wetlands are implemented. Its intention is to foreground, test and value conditions of the court that are not included within council site analysis. While we wait for the budget to be approved, what happens in the meantime? How can my design moves assist Council's research while also challenging the master plan's vision? When considering the systems of an ephemeral wetland, key factors of depth, duration, frequency and season of inundation came into focus. Highlighted were different speeds of performance and access to information. What became really intriguing was the notion of dormancy. Even when dry, an ephemeral wetland is still performing. This made me continually question what the site is producing now. As a wetland or not wetland, what are the systems at play? What is the site communicating? Languages and rhythms of the court became an obsession. Old symbols are disintegrating, the process of decay from the contact of water and paint. Cracks appear with the emergence of pioneer species, aided by nodes of water. Indentations in the asphalt hold sediment and debris. Ephemeral puddles emerge from time to time. The shifting apparatus highlights existing relations and tests the production of the new. It will be created from the existing fence of the primary school, a heavy galvanized steel to endure the meantime. It is provided by the site. James Corner speaks to our cultural images and understandings of ecology, both a concept and a system where the built and the wild coalesce. The apparatus primarily operates in these 4 ways. It funnels water to puddles and pioneer species. It perpetuates the deteriorating symbols of the court, allowing for more opportunities of growth. It provides water to birds, inviting them to scatter seed and connect the court to the surrounding waterways. And it feeds information to myself and the site's network of locals, caretakers, and experts at different speeds. As I operate the apparatus, it performs the diagram at multiple scales. As an instrument, how does it instrumentalize? What streams of interpretation are at play? Like the body of work, the diagrammatic process aims to highlight alternate power relations by privileging the site. Instruments innately organize and control if applied by a person. Can scale, limitation, and durational forces shift the hierarchy between designer and site? The affordance of a slow, continuous operation means my application onto the site is restrained. Its aim is for the site to dictate each shift. Inevitably, my subjectivity and intersubjectivity come into play with each move deciphered, but a dialogue with site demands a greater reciprocal exchange. Diagrams are said to idealize. What happens when we idealize conditions that are typically unfavored? By foregrounding systems like puddles, decaying paint, and pioneer species, what does this communicate? Does it reframe the value of these conditions, their ecologies, or highlight potential? Can my performance on site initiate a curiosity of the present? The website is positioned as the main public encounter. Like the Miro board, it undergoes yet another process of translation. Digital interfaces aim to test modes of mapping to reveal other connections and languages of the site. To further challenge the categories and identity applied, the website is seen as an inventory, diagram, map, and virtual site. It will diagram the apparatus and my dialogue with the site. Participants can engage with the site at different scales to learn from the meantime. They can add their own observations of performances occurring. Like councils, the website is to be accessible. Tested is its ability to diagrammatically expand and contract. I asked myself, what does this afford to the user, the site, and the wetlands? So how does the apparatus function over time? It starts with a small gesture. By directly diagramming into site, it performs at multiple scales. It slowly modifies in the meantime by responding to conditions of the court. The diagram becomes a thinking through doing and as such is performed through thought by the body and matter. It can invite conversation from adjacencies on site. Over time, many iterations may occur. The apparatus is designed to distribute water differently. What relations do these highlight? How does this begin to modify them? How do light indentations into the asphalt start to impact the site? What territories are created, disturbed, made anew? What are the moments of deterritorialization? The diagram is slow and gentle as the apparatus is in dialogue. Evident are multiple diagrams performing. The artificial diagram of the apparatus and the diagram performed through the changing conditions of the asphalt, vegetal growth, water and debris. The website will communicate these transitions. Artificial ecologies becoming their own as the apparatus and I converse with the site. Each digital interface seeks a translation of the shifting symptoms. So what does this mean for the potential wetlands? Can the diagram further facilitate a habitat for growth? can it further the process of ecological succession. The pioneer species can slowly improve the soil quality and create a more inhabitable condition. While we measure this impact as light, can its production modify Council's design of the future wetland by introducing new potential? This process is not providing a solution, instead it asks for us to continue our engagement and reassess. Does it change our image of an ephemeral wetland? As a parasitic process to councils, dialogue has enabled a proximity with site to learn, listen, and exchange. Afforded were moments of exploration, explanation, of narration, and questioning. Always attached, it asks for council to interrogate assumptions made within the master plan and project timeline. It interrogates the fixed nature of a site analysis. Genre speaks to the creation of an interiority through a gesture, an act, an insight that is characterized by what matters to us, with the intent to create something, to make it intrude out onto the exterior in order to change it. He calls this a genuine production. As a counter-project, this body of work calls for more time to be spent in the meantime. After exploring the processes of community engagement conducted by council, the need for a counter-practice became evident, one that engages with our environments as verbs to communicate their identities as many. The power of dialogue and the diagram is that it affords a temporary condition to interpret, digest, and investigate. After a year-long endeavour of working, testing, and searching, it has allowed for multiple points of entry. I hope it invites many more in the meantime.